If you were recently charged with domestic violence, then this video is for you, because in this video, I'm going to be explaining what I, as a criminal defense attorney, would do if I were charged with domestic violence right now. My name is Veronica, and I am a criminal defense attorney here in California. I help people who have been arrested put their criminal cases behind them so that they can enjoy their lives and their freedom. And again, in this video, we are going to be going through 9 things that I personally would do if I got arrested for domestic violence. So I get arrested, I go to jail, I bond out, and now what am I going to do next? Okay, so number 9 is I would sign up for domestic violence classes, anger management, therapy, or maybe a psychiatrist or both. If alcohol was involved, I would start AA. And if I'm still with the alleged victim, then I would definitely do couples counseling. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that I would do. This is probably one of the most important things on this list. And I know that it sounds like overkill, and it is. But look, in these domestic violence cases, some people get their cases dismissed. And that would be my goal. I cannot have a conviction for domestic violence on my record. I could be disbarred, my license could be suspended. It really would ruin my life. I cannot have that happen. So I'm going to do the overkill. I'm going to do all of the things that I could possibly do to try to make sure that I don't end up actually getting a formal case in court, because when you're arrested but you haven't gone to court yet, you have this window of time when you can do all these things. You can enroll in these classes, you can be proactive, and you can try to get the case dismissed before court. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But this is really important. And is this stuff cheap? I mean, anger management is usually about $25 a class. Same with domestic violence classes. Obviously, you can go through your insurance for therapy or a psychiatrist. AA is free. Couples counseling, maybe your insurance covers, maybe not. But I'm telling you, it is worth it. Having a criminal conviction on your record, especially if you are someone who depends on having a clean record and on not having any issues with your license being taken away that allows you to earn your livelihood, it's worth it. So start doing that now, like immediately. If you got arrested for domestic violence and you haven't been to court yet, absolutely you should be doing that right now. This is a lot of things. This could be, 6 days a week you're spending time on this stuff, but I'm telling you, absolutely it's worth it. You will impress the prosecutor. You put yourself, or it's much more likely that you put yourself in that bucket of people whose cases get dismissed before court. And even if the case does end up in court, now you're much more likely to be in the bucket of people that get their cases dismissed in exchange for classes. You have shown that you're very serious about this. And one of the questions I get asked is, but I'm innocent. Doesn't it make me look guilty? No, the answer is no, that it doesn't. What it makes it look like is that you got arrested and it scared the crap out of you. And so now you are doing what I would do, what probably most DAs would do, and you're being as proactive as you possibly can to try to get this whole thing taken care of, because you never ever, even if you did nothing wrong in the first place, you never ever want to end up in this situation again. Number 8. Is I would start collecting letters of recommendation from my family, friends, co-workers, anybody I possibly could. I would get letters of recommendation from them attesting to my character. If I have my own business, but if I was working for a place, I would make sure that I got proof of that. Definitely. So start collecting all of that early, because you're relying on other people and you want to have those letters as quickly as you can. Number 7 is if the alleged victim was on my side, like never wanted these charges in the first place, and they say, hey, here's what happened that night. Veronica was just acting in self-defense, or, we had a screaming match. The neighbors called the cops, but she didn't actually ever hit me. The cops just jumped to this conclusion. I want him to write a statement then explaining all of that. And then I'm going to take it one step further and have him actually go to a notary and get that statement notarized. If you go to a notary, it shows that it was definitely him who wrote it, or at least who signed it, and it's proof of the date on which he signed it. So I would want to get that early. And one of the reasons I want to do this is because what if we break up? Obviously something happened that the police showed up, right? So maybe we were having a fight, not a great time in our relationship. What if things turn? Even if I really, really want this relationship and I really want to stay together, I'm only one person and I can't control what he does. We may break up for an unrelated reason. Sometimes these cases take a long time to resolve. So I want to get him right now to write down that statement. I want proof that it was him and proof of when he signed it. Number 6 is I would get my own attorney right away. I would not wait until close to the court date. A lot of people don't know what the attorney can do before court, so you're kind of procrastinating. You don't want to make the phone calls. You don't want to do the consultations. You don't want to pay. You just paid bail, right, for an attorney. But it is important to get an attorney involved right away because, as I mentioned, if you were arrested, you bonded out, and you have court maybe in a few weeks, maybe in a few months, right now, that means that the DA, the prosecution, probably hasn't actually filed a case against you. And it's possible that they never will. But you want an attorney to talk to the DA, show them all these letters of recommendation, show them all of the things that you're doing, explain the good things about you, explain that you have no criminal history, explain what you have on the line. If you have, a licensing issue, if you have immigration issue, whatever it is, explain to the DA and try to maximize the chances that they will never open a case in court. Because imagine that. Imagine you actually never even have to go to court. The whole thing goes away. That's so much stress off your plate right now. That way you know you're not going to have a conviction. You know that you're not going to have a criminal record over this, and you know that you're not going to jail. So that is exactly what you need. And you also don't even have to take the time off work to go to court. Number 5 is I would make sure that the lawyer has in his or her possession all of the good things about me. And I wouldn't just say them on a phone call. I would write them down. I'm not going to rely on them they have a whole bunch of clients to take notes on this stuff. Me, for my clients, I have them fill out a form that asks them questions to try to extract all of the good things about them, hardships they've experienced, whatever it is. So if your lawyer doesn't have that type of thing set up, then you want to make sure that you write down like, hey, here is my educational history. Here's proof of it. Here is my job history. Here's what I do for a living. Here are all the family members that I'm supporting. All of that stuff, all the good things about you, I would want to write down, make it really easy for my lawyer to have all of that, make sure that nothing gets missed. Number 4, and this one, be careful with, and this is not a DIY situation. You're watching these videos, you're trying to educate yourself, that's great, but don't try to DIY anything that involves contacting the DA or giving the DA or the cops any kind of documentation. It's a really bad idea. What you need to do is have an attorney that can review this stuff. So what I would do is I would write a letter explaining, I'm not going to admit to anything in the letter, but explaining basically that this arrest and everything that happened leading up to it, this was an eye-opening experience for me. I'm horrified to find myself in this situation. It would really be from the heart, explaining, if it's me, saying, look, I've been a lawyer for 10 years now. I love what I do. Obviously, I never wanted to be in this situation. Look at all these things that I'm doing. I'm committed to making sure that nothing like this ever happens again. I would really spend time writing that. Now, you need a lawyer to review that to make sure that you are not inadvertently confessing to anything, saying anything incriminating, saying anything that maybe makes you look bad. It's really important. So even if I myself, with all the knowledge that I have as a domestic violence attorney, was arrested, there's no way I'm DIYing this, because there could be something about me that I write in there that I think is super great but actually comes across kind of cringy or offensive or who knows what, right? So make sure that you have a lawyer review that if you're going to do that. And if your lawyer tells you no, you're not submitting a letter, then listen to your lawyer. Number 3 is I would make sure that the alleged victim, if it's somebody who's on my side who never wanted to press charges in the first place, I want to make sure that he knows to get himself an attorney who can help him not to testify. There are 3 objections that you can make to avoiding testifying. So let's say the case actually does get charged. Maybe I waited too long, I didn't get an attorney, or for whatever reason, this case is actually charged, we end up in court. If he doesn't want to testify against me, and if my lawyer says, yeah, it would be best, they don't really have any other evidence except for if he testifies, then rather take the chance of having him go up there and testify and get cross-examined and maybe look like he's lying to cover for me. I want him to be able to avoid testifying if possible. Now, I can't tell him not to testify. That's a crime. It's called dissuading a witness. But an attorney can. So I would make sure that he knows that. And it is important that if someone is going to try not to testify, that they have an attorney. Because even as an attorney, it's a battle when I'm in court to make sure that the DA is pissed. The judge is usually pissed because here they have a witness that they've subpoenaed. And then here I show up and I say, actually, no, he or she is not going to be testifying. They have Fifth Amendment rights. They have rights under the California Constitution, whatever it may be, but I'm objecting. And then there's a legal argument like, okay, is this covered by the Fifth Amendment? Could this possibly incriminate the alleged victim? So you do want a lawyer for that. Again, that's not a DIY thing. I didn't say that this process is going to be cheap, but if it's me, I just know, how much money am I going to lose if I lose my whole career, right? I just can't do that. So what I want to do is make sure that I take all of the steps that I possibly could, even if it is expensive, because I know that I'm investing in myself and my future and protecting myself and my future. Number 2 is I would get married. I'm engaged right now, but I would definitely speed up that wedding because there's something called spousal privilege. If I thought that there was going to be a protective order in place so we couldn't get married, then I would just get married right away, because if we're married, then there's spousal privilege, which absolutely prevents him from testifying against me if he doesn't want to. Now, he is the one, just to be clear, he is the one that holds the privilege. So if he decides, you know what, we're married, but I do want to testify against you, Veronica, there's nothing I can do about that, except for have my lawyer cross-examine him. So he holds the privilege, so that's really important to understand. And number 1 is I would do exactly what you are doing right now. I would educate myself. I would watch videos. I have a whole bunch of videos about domestic violence to try to help you and try to educate you. I also have, if you look down below into the description box, I also made a checklist of all of this stuff that I said in the video. So if you have been taking notes, that's great, but you can just download the checklist right there. And if you do have a domestic violence case in California and you want a consultation, feel free to click the link down below or give my office a call and we can set one up.